Thanks for coming out and watching the oxymoronic Reddit professional show, where I showcase the best and worst of the internet. Here I comment on brilliant and hilarious comment chains regarding dumb shit on the internet for you to enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell button so that you get notifications every time we come up with a new video. Enjoy this week's show.
I am Dr. Jane Goodall, a scientist, conservationist, peacemaker, and mentor. Ask me anything. I am an aspiring environmental scientist. Would you say conservation of natural resources or the protection of species is more important? I'm trying to figure out where I can do the most good. I have already said that we can make a big difference by thinking about the consequence of the choices we make each day. Like what we buy. When it comes to what we eat, there is growing evidence that as more and more people and countries around the world eat more and more meat, this is not only involving tremendous cruelty to all the animals, but it's also having the most appalling effect on the environment. People don't always realize this. For one thing, areas of the world have been cleared to grow grain to feed the animals. And massive fossil fuel is used to take the grains to the animals and to slaughter the animals. Huge amounts of water, which is becoming increasingly scarce around the world. Huge amounts are wasted changing vegetables to animal protein. And finally, these animals, like us as well, food goes in one end and comes out the other. They belch as well as pass gas. Nothing is second most, it is very, very lethal. Of course, this is all leading to climate change and it is the greatest environmental issue facing our planet. One thing that is very, very helpful is to eat less meat or become a vegetarian or a vegan. Are you vegan, Dr. Goodall? I've read mixed answers on this. Hi there. Dr. Goodall has been a practicing vegetarian for many years now. Although she does love cheese, so not sure she'll become a vegan anytime soon. Thanks for the question. As a scientist and researcher, how do believe we can make a positive impact on the environment we currently live in considering the large amounts of damage already done to the earth? I think that we can only make a real difference if everybody wakes up to the fact that we have caused terrible harm to the planet, and we need to rethink the way that we live in the Western world. We've fallen into a very materialistic, money-oriented way of living, and it's placing enormous stress on the natural world. It's unsustainable, and we are told many of the non-renewable natural resources are being exploited and used up faster than Mother Nature can replenish them. So, basically we all need to think about the consequences of the life choices we make each day. What do we buy? What do we wear? What do we eat? How is it made? Is it from the environment? Is there cruelty to animals or cruelty to children? And make choices thinking not only about how is this good for me now, but also how will this affect future generations. In other words, we need to do our part in the decisions we make, in our hearts and in our heads. Piggybacking here. Folks, this means stop consuming animal products from factory farms. It's both extremely cruel to the animals and destructive of the environment. And if you must consume animal products, cut down on the quantity. Demanding animal products in every meal, regardless of where they're from, is environmentally unsustainable. My two daughters, 6 and 3, are huge fans of yours, and have read about you in both The Watcher and Rebel Girls. They have an explorer outfit they use to pretend they are you. Matilda, 6, would like to ask you, how did you manage to get so close to the chimpanzees? How did they settle down around you? Philippa, 3, would like to ask you, do you have any pets? Hi there. First off, thank you so much for nurturing a sense of scientific curiosity within Matilda and Philippa, and for providing them with powerful female role models, including yourself, of course. For Matilda, Dr. Goodall will tell you that she was able to get close to the chimps due to her overwhelming patience and by staying very quiet. For months, they would run away in fear of her, but after a time they came to realize that she posed no danger to them. The chimpanzee, David Greybeard, was the first to become relaxed around her after exploring her campsite. For Philippa, Dr. Goodall does not have any pets of her own because she travels over 300 days a year and thinks it wouldn't be fair to an animal to leave them alone for that long. Her family has 2 dogs, however, and she is always around animals whenever she travels, so she is never alone. Thank you for your questions. We keep destroying our environment and the beautiful creatures that share it with us. How do you keep your chin up and remain optimistic about where humanity is headed? It's tough these days, and I'd love to hear your perspective. As we look at what is happening in the world today, it is very, very grim. And because of that, a lot of people feel helpless, feel hopeless, and so they do nothing. And they fall into apathy and despair. So I have reasons for hope. I will share them quickly. One is the energy, commitment, and determination of young people, and they are empowered to take action in programs like Roots and Shoots. Secondly, the human brain. We have this extraordinary weapon. We are finally beginning to use it to create clean green energy and find a new way of interacting with the environment and live in harmony with the other creatures. It's very strange. In fact, the most intellectual creature to ever walk the planet is destroying its only home. And I believe there's a disconnect between a clever brain and the human heart and compassion. Only when the head and heart work in harmony can we reach our true human potential. And this, I believe, is to come. From the resilience of nature, we can help to once again support life. Animals are on the very brink of extinction and we have to give them another chance. Next there is social media, which as we all know can spew out a lot of rubbish and misinformation. But, used in the right way, it means that for the first time in human history, we can bring people together around the world who all care about a particular issue like climate change so that there can be hundreds, thousands, millions, eventually billions of people all raising their voices and demanding change so that we can make a big difference and politicians will have to listen and will have to make change. And finally, the human spirit. People who tackle what seems impossible and never give up. It's so important to realize that every single one of us has that same indomitable spirit. We just have to nurture it and let it grow to make a bigger impact for good. Thanks so much for taking the time to respond to me and, more generally, for making yourself available to the community today. Hi Dr. Goodall. What was the pivotal point in your career where you decided that you absolutely wanted to study primates in the field? What were the reactions of your peers? Well, I first decided I wanted to go to Africa and live with animals and write books about them when I was 10 years old. And everybody laughed at me. How could I do that? Africa is so far away. In World War II we had very little money. I was simply a girl. They told me girl students cannot do that. But I had a wonderful mother who had supported my love of animals ever since I was born, and she said to me, if you really want to do this, then you're going to have to work very hard and take advantage of opportunity. That's the message I take to young people all around the world today, especially to those in underserved communities. I came to study chimpanzees because of the paleontologist Louis Leakey who wanted somebody to go with him and study them. He believed we shared a common ancestor 6 million years ago and that we could learn from their behavior what early humans might have been like. When I discovered that chimpanzees make and use tools, and that they have complex emotions and a sort of culture, no one wanted to believe me. When I went to get my PhD, there was a lot of pushback. But I knew this was true, so I kept going. This AMA just made me giddy with excitement. Dr. Goodall, when I was little, I wanted to be you when I grew up and I am so excited to see you on here. Of course I'm interested in your work but I'd love to know more about your activism. What would you say are the most effective ways people can get involved? For folks with small children, what would you recommend in order to get them involved too? Thank you for being the person I looked up to for so many years, and still do, and the person that taught me it was more than okay to deeply care about animals. Wishing you well. Hi there. Thank you for your kind words regarding Dr. Goodall. She will tell you 10 times out of 10 that the best way to get your children involved is to join our Roots and Shoots program. It is Dr. Goodall's youth service program that focuses on respect and compassion for all living things, understanding of all cultures and beliefs, and inspiring each individual to take action to make the world a better place for people, other animals, and the environment. The program has just recently been introduced into its 100th country and continues to grow every day. Some advice she gives to everyone who asks, though, is that you must think and act locally. Focus on issues in your own community. Map out any potentially hazardous areas, polluted rivers, beaches, parks, and gather support from there. If everyone were to focus on their local communities, then the impact would eventually be global. Thanks for your question. To what extent can the vocalizations and gestures of chimpanzees be converted or translated into a language? Has progress been made translating this? There is no question that chimpanzees have a very rich way to communicate many emotions and information about the environment. But I don't think we can translate that into anything like human language. However, chimpanzees can actually learn human-type languages. They can learn American Sign Language, 400 or more signs, and they can also learn quite sophisticated communication systems using computers. Hi Dr. Goodall, my 4-year-old loves reading. She asks, what is your favorite book? When I was growing up, what I read were the Dr. Dolittle books. I learned a great deal from those books. When I was 10 years old I read Tarzan. I was sad when he married the wrong Jane. It was those books that directed me to grow up, go to Africa. For a 4-year-old child, one of my books I absolutely loved was Jane, with illustrations by Patrick McDonnell, which is fantastic. Another one I want to mention is My Life with Chimpanzees, which is a book I wrote for young children about my life with chimpanzees. What was the most surprising thing you found while studying the similarities between chimpanzees and humans? I'm not sure about the most surprising, but the most shocking was the fact they are capable of war. This was very horrifying and actually made them more like humans than I thought they were before. I have heard that you have also discovered that they are capable of altruism, such as adopting orphaned infants. Can you tell us about that? Hi there. In GAM we have witnessed acts that could be considered altruistic on various occasions. One example being when an orphaned 3.5-year-old chimp, without older siblings, whom sometimes adopt their younger siblings, was taken in by an adolescent male around 12 years old. The older male allowed the orphan chimp to follow him around, even making sure he kept up while they were on the move, allowing the orphan to cling to his underbelly when the orphan was scared and or cold, and even allowing the orphan chimp to sleep in the same night nest as him. This is especially interesting considering that the adolescent male was not related to the orphan chimp in the least. Thanks for the question. What are you most proud to see change in the world over your lifetime? When I flew over the national park in the early 90s and looked down, I was utterly shocked. What had been stretching to the west coast was now a tiny island surrounded by completely bare fields. People too poor to buy food from elsewhere. And struggling to survive. That is when it hit me. If we don't improve the lives of these people, there is no way we can conserve the chimpanzees. And that led to the Jane Goodall Institute program. We went not as a bunch of arrogant white people telling the villagers what to do to make their lives better, but with a hand-picked team sitting down, listening to the villagers, and asking them what they thought we could do to improve their lives. And that led to a very holistic program, which gradually grew and we could introduce new ways of helping. This paid off handsomely. The people in the villages are now our partners, helping us in conservation efforts. They've agreed to have a buffer between their villagers and the park to protect the chimpanzees. And the national park, which was completely isolated, is now gradually being linked to other groups. And this program is now in 52 villages in the GAM area, and it's in 5 other countries. And it is making a huge difference. Positive in introducing the youth program reaching the villages. It's probably the most important way in which we are able to conserve chimpanzee habitats. And I'll add to that, I would say we have placed great emphasis on education, helping them stay in school beyond puberty. We do this because it's been shown all around the globe that we all improve as women's education improves. One of our problems today is a growing number of humans. As our numbers grow, there are impacts and finite resources leading to more and more poverty and hunger.
If you enjoyed this week's effective way to waste time, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you are enjoying the series, leave me a comment below. A special shout out to the content creators. You frickin' rock.